Previously on Break the Cycles. I've already clocked over 13,000 miles and I'm less than 200 miles away from the Mexico border. I can get there easily in one day, but there are a few more stops I have to make before I can cross over to Mexico. The next day after leaving Mick's place, I visited more family in Yorba Linda. I stayed with them for a night and then headed back towards LA because Eric was in town. The last time I saw Eric was his wedding a few years ago and it was way overdue. So we met up for brunch. Then I rode south to my final destination before the border crossing, my cousin Leon's place. The following day, I visited Leon at his work where he tenured as a professor of accounting. It was a pretty uneventful day where I did my laundry, kind of sorted through my photos, and that was it. And then the next couple days, there was a lot of procrastination. Mainly because I'm pretty nervous slash scared going across the border. There are a lot of differences between this border and the Canadian one. For one, I don't speak any Spanish, right? And then two, I need visa for myself, but also for my motorcycle, which is called a TVIP or a temporary vehicle import permit. There's insurance that I have to buy that's separate. I had to also have a different phone plan and a national phone. And of course, there's plenty of rumors of how dangerous Mexico is. So I was scared. So I ended up doing nothing significant for 5 days, just sorting through my photos and videos and just enjoying the wonderful San Diego weather. And after the fifth day, I realized I would never leave if I don't do anything. So I headed to GPR Stabilizers to pick up my rebuilt stabilizer that I had shipped out when I was in LA because it started leaking. The guys at GPR was super nice. They gave me some O-rings, some special tool in case, I want to like rebuild it south of the border and I have a hard time shipping it back. After that, I headed to Otay Mountain. You can technically see Mexico from the top of the mountain. So this is my logic. Like it's like a desensitization, little baby step for me. Otay Mountain is mostly dirt and gravel road. The grade going up the mountain is not terribly steep, but its incline is very noticeable. This was not an issue going up, but when you're coming down, even though I was using engine braking, I was still accelerating faster and faster because it was so steep of a grade going down slow. So I had to pump the rear brake to shave off speed. Originally, I used this like Valvoline DOT4 brake fluid, which is like the cheapest thing you can buy at like Advanced Auto or wherever. And I must have been on the brake for way too frequently. And about 2/3 of the way down the mountain, I step on the rear brake and nothing happened. Like I just keep sliding. And I immediately knew I boiled the brake fluid and now I don't have rear brakes. So I grabbed the front brake very softly because I knew if I grabbed it full, I would just slide out. And it's just enough to slow down, but not washed out. So I wasn't going very fast, and the bike did kind of slide to almost to a stop, but it was very steep at the section where I was trying to slow down. And my body position was just wrong. Like I was leaning way too far forward. So when the bike stopped, my momentum kept carrying me, and then I like plopped over in front of the bike, kind of over the handlebar. And then the weight of the bike continued to go over, and it landed on the back of me. It just landed on my left calf, and it just like pinned me to the ground. The whole weight of the bike was on my left calf, right? And I was in this super awkward position where like I'm face down, and then like I'm pinned under the bike. And then I try to pull my leg out, of course, right? So like I'm laying down, and then I pull my leg out, and then the bike slides with me as I'm pulling out because I'm like trying to like pull it out as I'm going downhill, and the bike is already slanted downhill, so it just kind of slides with me. So I couldn't like just yank my leg out. And I'm like pinned downwards and I can't spin around because I can't spin my calf. So I'm like laying face down and like stuck in this position. And I lay there for 10 seconds. I didn't know what to do. And then like after 10 seconds, I just started uncontrollably laughing because it was so ridiculous. Like this is not like a like a life-threatening situation, but like I'm stuck. Like it was so stupid. So I struggled for the next 10 minutes just wiggling and then like kind of like shifting and twisting, and I finally unpinned myself, and then I got the bike up and then move it to a like a shade area and then just sat there for a few minutes. I needed to get the brake fluid to cool down so that I can have some rear brakes going down the rest of the way. And I had to do this quite a few times because if I didn't, like, the brake fluid's already bad. So I did this a few times and I finally made it down the mountain. When I made it back to Leon's house, I finally had a mental breakthrough. I went and got some high performance brake fluid, did all the service on the bike, including oil change, rear tires, had the bike ready. Got an international phone with Google Fi, and at that time, Google Fi was unlimited and zero restriction. Now it's not really a good option, but back then it was like the perfect option. I secured a couch server for 3 nights and complete my insurance for Mexico. And just like that, I was ready to go. Kind of. I ended up procrastinating on departure day. Cold feet. So I didn't end up leaving, going towards the border until late afternoon. And this was the stupidest thing I can do. Like the dumbest thing you can do. You're going to the border crossing, you got to get there early because if there's something that happens, you have plenty of daylight. But I was going there like super late already. I ended up at the border crossing at 8 p.m. when it was completely dark. The officer looked at my passport and just waved me by. He didn't need a visa, don't need a vehicle import permit. So I was very concerned and very confused. So I asked him, what about the visa and my vehicle import? He said, just go forward and you'll see it on your right hand side. And it's a very vague direction, but I'm like holding up the line and he just kind of like tell me to go. And he has, of course, he had a gun in his hands. I'm like, oh, all right, let me get out of here. So when I started going, I followed the road and it was very poorly lit. Like right where like you check in, it's like pretty well lit, but the second you leave, it's very poorly lit. By the time I saw the building on my right hand side, I'm like riding by, I was like, oh, it's right there. I already ran past it, and there was no way to turn around because all these cars are coming right behind me and going forward. So I just had to keep going. And what's even worse was that when I was concerned about the visa office, I didn't notice that there was a split on the road coming out of the border control. So I ended up going on the wrong side of the road and I ended up riding towards the ocean side and got caught up in traffic for 35 or 40 minutes in the dark. It was a one-lane road. I just had to ride it until I could turn around. And then I finally was able to turn around at like 9:30. And then when I got to like the hostess place, it was like already like 10:30 at night. Ridiculous. And my host wasted no time, took me out of town for some nightlife, drinks, and food. And then the next morning, the host took me to eat some street food for breakfast and hung out with me after her work, showed me around the city. The following day, I did more research and I found out that you can actually go into the Baja California area for 7 days with grace period if you're an American. You don't need anything. You just drive in, show them your passport, and you drive back out. Like you don't need visa, nothing. All right, so it's just like a free border crossing as long as you have your passport. But if I go further south, or if I take the ferry to go to mainland, which I have to do, they'll end up stopping me and then requiring me to either go back to get it or like pay a hefty fine. I don't know. So my host drove me back to the border, but to the side where the walkers cross, not the vehicle side. There's no way to get to the vehicle side without like just basically having to cross back into the US. So I walk into the border control area where the walkers are and went into the building, couldn't find anybody. Finally, I went to the second floor and then like there wasn't anybody there. And then finally I found a room where like two people were sitting there. They were nice enough to, like tell me where to go, got me downstairs and took like 2 hours. And then finally I got all my papers sorted. And I was like so much more like relieved because now I have all the right paperwork. The following day, the host challenged me to take a public transport to meet her downtown by, waving down a taxi. It was very nerve wracking. So I did. because you can't speak Spanish, and then you're waving down a taxi. You don't know where you're going. It's a hot mess. But I manage with like GPS. Oh, I gotta get off, and then like you pay them, and you got off the. It's fine. And then we went to boxing class with a friend and had dinner downtown. Next day, I said goodbye to Hilda and headed deeper into Mexico towards Ensenada. I met Jorge, my next host, at the university where he's giving a lecture. After his class, he took me to get some tacos, then to his house. The following day, Jorge had to work, so I went around his town trying some street food. The tacos were amazing. They had every sort of fish, meat, tripa, you name it. It was so good. And then afterwards, I rode around the neighborhood and had an easy day. And then the weekend came around. Jorge was free. I told him I really want some lamb taco. So he took me to a famous taco restaurant called La Cocina de Dona Estela. When we got there, the line was out the door. And there was like a 2 hour wait. So we like had to go somewhere. Like we just like visited a vineyard nearby to kill some time. So when it was finally our turn, we went all out. Coffee, lamb tacos, egg dish, everything. It was so good. And then we stopped on the way home at Cuatro Cuatros. And Cuatro Cuatros is a very exclusive seaside bar where you have to take a shuttle from the gate because you can't drive down to the area. So you have to take a shuttle from the gate and you get to this like seaside bar area. The view was impressive. This was really posh place. The drinks were like $6 to $7. And for DC area, that's like, pretty average at that time. But for Mexico, this was like unbelievably expensive. Even the bathroom when you go pee has seaside view. I mean, it was very posh. At the end of the day, we returned to his house and we met up with three Colorado boys that I've been chatting with on Instagram who are also going south. So we met up and discussed traveling together. I was planning to leave the next day, but they needed an extra day in Ensenada. And it was fortuitous because after all that binge eating and then getting all this drink afterwards, I had my first upset stomach that lasted till noon the day after. Now, it was bad. So I ended up just staying around the house, taking some photos, and guarding the toilet. There, they make these like tires, and then like old tires they make them into these like hanging art. It was very cool. They were like everywhere. Like it's not just his house, which these are from his house, but the other houses also had them. The following day I met up with the Colorado boys. We headed south down Baja. The day started out fantastic. We had to plan to camp out at Coco's Corner, which is this like famous adventure tour spot. It was less than 300 miles away, so we figured we start early enough, we'll make it. Little did we know, soon after we leave the city, the paved road disappeared. We started riding behind these 18 wheelers on dirt and gravel road and on steep inclines through the mountain. There were sections where the boulders were larger or as large as the bike that we were riding. The further we went, the road got worse and the slower we rode. Before we knew it, we were riding in the dark, barely able to see anything with big trucks all over the road. It was super, super dangerous. Eventually, we made it to Coco's Corner. Now, Coco's Corner is named after this guy named Coco, where he collects all kinds of memorabilia and hangs them on the roof, from underwears to hats to stickers or money. This place is in the middle of nowhere. You come off the main gravel road onto an even less traveled dirt path. Remember, this is all in pitch black darkness. There's no road light, there's no lights anywhere. We came up to this fenced area. We were very cautious because it was completely dark and we didn't want to be shot trespassing. I mean, this is not like, anywhere we know, right? Middle of nowhere in Mexico. So we parked our bikes outside of the fence and then we went inside to see if we could find anybody. After looking around, we realized no one's here and it was very late. So we had no choice and we rode into the compound and then put our bikes all the way in the back of the fence, as far back as we can, and then set up our tent against the fence. So we set up, we all fell asleep soon after. And then 11 o'clock rolls around. We hear a pickup truck pull up, and then followed by voices of two men and a dog. The two men began unloading stuff from the truck. And we don't know what they're unloading, but they keep unloading stuff. They begin to talk very loudly in Spanish. Now, while we can't understand what they're saying, we understand a lot of the cuss words. Like puta, puta. And then they were repeating it over and over and over again. Meanwhile, the dog is aggressively barking at us in our direction non-stop. We were petrified. Next time, I will share with you what happened the next morning at Coco's Corner and the adventure deep into Baja.